Now I'll show you something else that will simulate what would happen if you're in a manhole environment, say, and you do have the unit exposed to gas. You have a gas condition in the vault or in the manhole. What I'll show you is that it's impossible to deactivate the alarm once gas is exposed to the sensor. Okay, I have a flow of gas waiting for my unit to alarm. I'm not going to release this testing hose just now to show you that it is impossible to reset the unit while there is a still gas condition present. I'll remove the gas, disconnect my hose. You see that the red light went out, and now I can reset the unit. So again, that's a safety feature for your benefit. Obviously, you do not want to be able to reset this unit if there's a gas condition present. You also might have noticed that the only way that I can reset the alarm is from the central monitoring unit. Again, that's a deliberate safety feature provided with this unit. You cannot disable the alarm from the remote, which would be hanging in the manhole. Okay? So that is the daily electrical check and the daily quick check that you need to perform, again, at the job site just before you enter the manhole or other confined space. Now that you know how to do the quick check immediately prior to entering the space, I'd like to discuss the actual utilization of the multi-ram at the job site. Also, we're going to discuss now another required component of the system, and that is the 30-inch non-conductive probe. The probe is a 3-piece plastic and tubing assembly that will allow you to perform what we call the sniff test at the manhole and once in the manhole, in the corners and in the ducts. It simply goes together by a twist and lock connector system. It has an aspirator bulb on one end and a connector or adapter that will allow you to couple this over the remote sensing unit. But just before I go to show you how to use it actually at the job site, let me explain a little bit on how it actually operates. Each time I squeeze and release this aspirator bulb, an air sample is drawn in through holes in the tip of the probe. Each release of the aspirator is going to move that sample about a foot. This whole unit is just about 5 feet in length. Therefore, you need 5 squeezes and releases to deliver a sample to this coupler. And then to actually utilize it, 1 more squeeze for the sensor. So 6 squeezes when you use the non-conductive probe in conjunction with the sensor. Now there's also an air tightness test that you can do to ensure that you're maximizing the draw when you squeeze and release that aspirator bulb. You can't do it with this end connected, of course, because there are holes in the tip. But to check the air tightness, simply squeeze the aspirator, put a thumb or finger over the other end, and the aspirator bulb should hold. If this holds for 10 seconds, you're fine. If it released too quickly, maybe you've got a loose connection, maybe you've got a crack in the tube, something you can take care of before you utilize the probe. So let me just put this aside for the time being, and I'll get into more utilization once we get into the test, purge, and ventilate routine, which I'm going to talk about now. You know that you've got a unit that's working properly. You've done your electrical check at the job site. You've done your quick check at the job site. Now let's talk about properly entering and working in a manhole. First of all, I mentioned earlier that the unit is provided with slide hangers. This will allow you to hang it from the guardrail. That's the most appropriate place to place the unit when someone is working in the hole, a place where it can be seen and heard. Once you get the CMU set up on your guardrail, the next thing you want to do is follow your company practice as far as testing. Some companies require you to actually open the manhole first and do your tests. Some companies require a test prior to the manhole cover being opened. In either event, that is where the probe is now utilized. Let's say you work for a company that requires you to test before you open the manhole cover. Simply connect the probe over the remote, like so, and now Place the probe just into the access holes in the manhole cover and do that sniff test, we call it. Now let's assume in this particular case we've completed our sniff test at the top of the manhole and there was no indication of gas. Let's assume that this particular manhole that you're at is half full of water. We are going to continue with the test to a level just above the water so that we've not only accomplished a test at the top of the hole, but a test now halfway down, so to speak. What I would do is slowly lower the remote down to a level about a foot above the water. What you're doing now is testing that environment as the remote is being lowered down into the hole. Once you've got the remote down to a level above the water, and pay particular attention not to lower this into the water, you can now hang the remote in the hole while you pump. That's where this S-clip assembly that comes with the unit is very handy. This S-clip will allow you now to hang the remote at different heights from the guardrail. Very easy to use. Just double over the cord from the remote, back over the top of the clip, and you now have a hanger. So you've got this hanging in the hole while you're pumping, and you're going to continue to pump until you get enough water out of the hole so that you can work. Once that water is removed, you can take this off of its hanger, again, lower it down to a level about a foot or so above the water, and what you've accomplished now is a complete test all the way down to the base of the manhole. If you've got enough room, and by that I mean if the manhole is not congested with cables going every which way, it's also a good idea to take and go around the circumference of the manhole with the remote cord. This allows you to test a larger area at the base of the hole. Once you've completed this test, again, there's been no indication of any gas, you can bring the remote up and hang it in the manhole at what you would think will be your head height while you're working. And again, you can adjust that height by simply sliding this S-hook to the position that you need. So that is the test part of the routine.